evening, everyone. Thank
Good
you for
evening.
coming to our regular board meeting today, located at 2350 South 25th Avenue at 737.
7:37?
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Present.
Trustee Tierney.
Present.
Trustee Jones.
Present.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Trustee Horn.
Present.
Trustee Horn is on speakerphone. She's joining us electronically today. She is out of town. Mr. Attorney, do we need to recite anything from the statute about electronic participation?
There is a section in the village code, Mr. Clerk, thank you, that you have established a forum being physically present, and then if the village, you have notified the members of corporate authorities, and the village of Broadview desires to attend electronically, the presiding officer shall state the notice was received by a member of the village of Broadview according to these rules, and the member will be deemed to authorize unless there is an objecting motion carried by a supermajority of the members of the village physically present that trustee Horn could not electronically participate. So at this point in time, noting that there is, Mr. Clerk, I believe you would state that there is a quorum physically present.
There is a quorum physically present.
And I do not know if there are anyone making a motion to prohibit trustee Horn to attend electronically.
And I can attest that we did get prior notice and ample notice.
Mr. Clerk, let the record reflect that no one has made a motion to prohibit trustee Horn from participating electronically in accordance with both the Open Meetings Act and the Village Code.
So noted. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Trustee Abraham is absent. Trustee Brown Marino.
Here.
Mayor Thompson, you have a quorum. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we please now have a moment of silence? Thank you. Madam President, item 2, public comments. Let me just read the quick rules. The Village of Broadview encourages citizen input. Those wishing to address the village board under public comments must fill out the attached speaker request form and submit it to the village clerk prior to the start of the board meeting. The president will then call your name at the appropriate time. When addressing the village board, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. When the president does recognize you, please state your name, address for the record, and speak loudly. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Ms. Cushman, can you step to the mic? Ms. Cushman, you have public comment?
Margaret Cushman, 2422 South 16th Avenue, Broadview, Illinois. Before I start, I would like to say thank you for putting the phone numbers in the bulletin. I had several people tell me that they noticed that and they thought it was a good idea. So I would like to read a letter to Mayor Thompson. I'm reading this so I don't forget anything. I'm very happy to announce that this Wednesday, June 6th, the Broadview Food Pantry will recommence serving those Broadview residents who are experiencing food insecurity. As you may know, in 1995, trustee Bob Payne founded the Broadview Service Center to try to help ensure that no village resident would have to go hungry. After 25 years of service as president and director of the food pantry, Trustee Payne was forced to cut back due to health issues. He continues to serve on the board, but not as an officer. I was elected to take his place as president of the board. The food pantry has been blessed with an impressive group of volunteers dedicated to providing healthy, nutritious food to Broadview residents in need. None are more dedicated to this cause than was Don Triplett, who passed shortly after Trustee Payne had to temporarily suspend the pantry. Don's enthusiasm, hard work, and positive attitude will be profoundly missed, but we are all committed to carrying on the legacy. I'm writing to ask for your help in spreading word of the food pantry throughout the village, not only to be sure that all the current clients no, service resumes this Wednesday, but to reach those residents in need that may not be aware of the pantry. Our resources are limited, and every dollar spent on publicizing our existence takes away from our ability to purchase food from the Greater Food Depository. Would you please consider sending out a robocall? Other ways to spread the word might be to include a mention in the next Broadview bulletin or on your Facebook page, perhaps. And we would like to have permission to post or distribute flyers at the Village Hall. The Broadview Community Presbyterian Church, which provides space for the food pantry operation, has offered to allow us to post a yard sign in the grassy area of their property facing Roosevelt Road. It is our understanding that a permit is required for a sign. We would like you to consider supporting the issuance of such a permit and perhaps waiving the fee. I've attached a sheet with information about the food pantry. If you'd like our input for information on a robocall or anything, don't hesitate to ask. I also printed up a bunch of, this is the information sheet about the pantry, if it would be all right if you could put it out there. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Ms. Cushman, I just thank you for your service and being committed to helping those that's in less fortunate positions that we are, and stepping up to the plate to us in the absence of Mr. Payne, because he has been a pillar with the Broadview Food Pantry. And so just know that I'm here to support anything that's good for the residents at large, regardless who runs it. So if you don't mind, won't you call my office tomorrow and schedule an appointment with Lily, my assistant, and then you and I and some of the team members here, we can kind of strategize on what's gonna be the best way to promote the Broadview Food Pantry. I'm happy that it's in Broadview, but as I had stated earlier, I had committed to the Westchester Food Pantry in absence of the Broadview Food Pantry. So actually the donations and contributions that we're receiving for the Westchester Food Pantry will go to them, but after June 14th, you have my full commitment and my full support to support the Broadview Food Pantry.
I do work all week though, so it's hard for me to get hold of anybody during the week.
Okay, but I mean, if it's after
And
hours
we are restricted.
or on the weekends, just schedule to get on my calendar so that we can, you know, do what the right thing by Broadview. Okay?
Is this
Thank you.
monthly? Is this gonna be a monthly,
I don't know,
event?
I'll meet with them after this trustee meeting. Ms. Redmond?
Thank you, Mayor Thompson. Shirley Redmond, 2246 South 24th Avenue. Trustees, residents, and department heads. I have two things about old business that I'm hoping to get a clear explanation of tonight if you're going to vote on this. Item A, the Illinois Coalition of Local Government. Now, I have to tell you, I have been hearing rumors that the threshold for home rule, this group wants to, or advocates, wanting to lower it from 25,000 to 5,000, or support. That was some information I heard, a couple years back, that may come through. If this is the group, I'd like to know, what is our benefit to have an advisor? Is this a state-run thing? Is this something that Chris Welch votes on? Is it something that Karen Lightford, does she vote on that? Who's in charge of this? Because if they're listening to the constituents, we voted it down 3 times. And I'm sure they do other things, but I'd like to know what it is. And I want to tell you, if that's the case, Shirley Redmond will walk every brick in this village to say, hey, home rule is not what we want. We want open government, but we want control over what we spend. And that's important, okay? I don't care, you've been wonderful. It is nothing personal. But when it's my checkbook and your checkbook, I want you to know we want accountability and we want to be able to vote. And I also want to know more about it. So if I have it mixed, please correct me. I don't say I know everything, but I just want to know more about it. And then item B for grant writers. I remember the first I'd heard of the grant writing, and it might have happened way back before, but Chief Gardner had somebody writing grants for the fire department, and it could have been years ago that we had grants. But I also remember we hired somebody that did it for a couple $1,000s, and then I remember we got some software when you were mayor, Trustee Jones. So I'm wondering now, this is whatever the cost to the village, what do we get in return? And I know, nobody's gonna do anything for free. I'm not asking that. I'm just asking, well, how would this benefit? And I have to say, Chief Tagaro, when he was chief, Chief Gardner, Chief Kenny, and I'm sure Chief Tierney, grant writing, we've gotten plenty of money and good things happen, but I'd just like to know more about it before you all say yay or nay. Thanks.
Okay, so, the home rule rumors that you're talking about changing for, that's something that is in conversation at the state level. So if you want to get more information, I suggest and recommend that you call either Senator Lightford's office or Representative Welch, because it would be a state, legislation if it was to come through, not at a local level.
Okay, thank you.
And then as it relates to the grant writers, a grant writer is a skill set that takes place with an individual. So we've been very fortunate that Chief Tierney and Chief Gardner and Chief Tagara were able to submit and write grants on behalf of the village. We don't have that talent in place with the department heads that we have to write at the level we need to be successful. So the software that you're speaking of, the monthly dues, when we looked into it, the monthly dues that we were paying for this software was about $2,500 a month. So if you do the math, 2,500 times 12, that'll give you the cost, which we paying about $14,000 for this grant writer. And so they will actively seek grants and actively write grants on behalf of the fire and the police department. So just to clarify that for you. Okay? Ms. Ida Hop?
My name is Ida Hopp, and I live at 2405 South 15th Avenue. And I'm sorry, but I kind of like home rule. I don't quite understand it, but I'm under the impression that if you have home rule, if our taxes go up, theirs do too. And the thing is that I'm wondering, and this is one of my questions, do we have a noise ordinance? And I kind of think when you have home rule, that's very much in place. The same thing with curfews for kids and things like that, correct?
Yes.
I called over Memorial Day weekend, and hi, Kevin. And I complained about my neighbors at about 11:30, and I was told I had to make out a complaint. I don't believe we ever did that before. Okay, so the officer was nice, and he said, "I will ride by there though this time," and then the noise did stop after that. My other question is what is going in across from New to You on that corner? We see activity there. People ask us all the time, but we don't know. And is the car wash thing going to ever get going? That's it.
Okay, we do have a noise ordinance in place, and we have gotten some complaints about noises outside, music being played loud, so the police department is actively pursuing those complaints, and Chief Ugelin will talk to you about that afterwards. As it relates to the build-out that's on the corner of 17th and Roosevelt, well, we're hoping to put a restaurant there, so we're still in talk with several different restaurants at this point. The car wash is still coming sometime this summer, so hopefully it'll be real soon, by the mid-summer, late summer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doreen Gordon?
Doreen Gordon, 2416 South 14th Avenue. I just wanted to say thank you to the people of the Village of Broadview that supported the ALS, Walk to Defeat ALS on Saturday. Chief Kenny and her husband were there representing Broadview, and there were a lot of other Broadview people representing other teams, which was really great to see. Nice. I also want to thank the mayor for issuing this commendation that I will pass along to the ALS Association. Thank you so much. Everybody in Broadview has been really terrific about supporting it. It's a terrible disease. People do not recover from it. They die. And anything that you can do to support them, we all appreciate. Donations are still being accepted by ALS for the Walk to Defeat It, so people can continue to make donations. And just for the record, I am against home rule. I like you guys. I think you'll be fine doing it, but who knows who's coming after you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that completes item 2. Item 3, communications. I have a couple of things. First, Chief Uglin asked me to read the flyer that I have here regarding the June 9th, 2018 Torch Run. This torch run is going to be participated in by several villages. It's going to start in Westchester at the Westchester Police Station at 10 a.m. And the torch run is going to head eastbound, ending up at Doc Ryan's in Forest Park. So we have Westchester, Broadview, Bellwood, Maywood, and Forest Park all involved. And this torch run is open to law enforcement personnel only, unfortunately. But at 10 a.m., and they'll get there about 11 a.m., we can all join in at Doc Ryan's, which is at 7432 Madison and Forest Park after the run. Chief Kenny asked me to announce the June 29th, 2018 Camp We Can 2. Join us for a day of empowerment by hearing about all the amazing things girls can do. We will have women here to talk about their awesome jobs, where men usually dominated the profession. We Can Too is all about diversity and equality. These flyers are in the back on the table. You can pick up one. This is happening at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Broadview Fire Department, right next door to Village Hall here. Broadview Lions Club asked me to announce that on June 6th at 6 p.m. there's a Lions Club meeting at the Broadview Village Chamber Hall right here. Village Hall Chambers, I should say. Join us as we hear the success stories from a few that have been involved in the Special Olympics and gone to state. Again, that's June 6th, 6 p.m. right here at Village Hall. All right, next we have presentation by SteriMed. Thank you, sir.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, and people of Broadview, I want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to come out here and talk to you today. Recently, myself and 5 other individuals bought a company called SteriMed. SteriMed's a very interesting company. It's very technology-based, but we manufacture the only environmentally clean and safe method to dispose of medical waste. Basically, the machines that we manufacture take medical waste, they slice it, disinfects it, and it comes out in a form that could be thrown right in the regular trash. It's really revolutionary. It's a very clean process. We're approved in 50 states in the United States by all their EPAs and the state's governing bodies. We have currently machines at VA hospitals, on U.S. naval ships, and throughout the country. The previous owners were manufacturing these and trying to sell those to direct medical waste generators. We agree with that theory, but then we also came up with a different business plan, and that is to begin service centers whereby we would go to local medical waste generators and pick up their waste and dispose of it at one central location. And we've highlighted Broadview as the first such location in the country. It's our intention to put several hundred of these in the United States in various markets. We like Broadview a lot. It's central area location, its accessibility to the highway system, and the fact that I grew up 10 blocks west of here in Westchester. In the summer months, my parents would buy out of resident passes. So me and my 8 brothers virtually grew up at the Broadview pool. As a matter of fact, with 8 brothers, that's how we learned how to talk to girls. So, to varying degrees of success, by the way. So we've taken a look at 2 locations in Broadview. One is at Broadview Place, which is 2000 South 25th Avenue, and the other one is ECS. They're an escalator manufacturer. They're located at 2741 South 21st Street. What happened with ECS is they outgrew their facility. So they bought another property in Broadview, and they began a second manufacturing operation there, but they moved their corporate office from the location on 21st Avenue to the new plant. So that's a real interesting company for those of you who've never been over there. They make like the people mover at O'Hare. They make all the escalators and these high rises, and they're a real interesting company. And it's right over here. So the whole general office of the facility moved to the new location, which opened up the front of their building, and they've offered us that space. We're here tonight to introduce ourselves and to ask if, to get your input on what we do, answer questions about what we do. We're proud of this technology. We think it's revolutionary within the medical field. Previous medical waste disposal is either incinerated or put in the land. If it's incinerated, it puts dioxins in the air. If it's put in the land, there's always the risk of it getting into the water table. Our solution takes that all off the table. There's no fumes in our process. It's simply a process of slicing it, disinfecting it, and taking it out and bringing it to the regular garbage. We think it's very good for the environment. We believe that doctors